So we're like the only country on the whole planet that celebrates Thanksgiving. Because we're the only ones that had the pilgrims that came over from the Indians and they helped us out when we were starving and gave us food and all those things. And so oftentimes when we think about Christmas, we think about Christ, we think about that being a global event. And when we think about the holiday season, we think about that starts with Thanksgiving. Well gosh, what about for the rest of the world? And what about for the last couple thousand years, minus the last couple hundred years of us being a country? What kicked off Christmas then? What kicked off the Christmas season? If it wasn't turkey, what was it? It was today, it was Advent. Always 4 Sundays before Christmas, in would come Advent. And normally, there would be a wreath, just like this. And the wreath would have 4 candles with one in the center. And the first Sunday of Advent, today, we would light 1 candle. And the next Sunday, we would light the 2nd candle, and then the 3rd, and then the 4th. And then on Christmas Day, we'd light the center candle, the white one that celebrated God being the center of all things. The wreath having no beginning and no end. Now, in modern times, like World Wanda, we can see Advent setting the stage for so many of the traditions that we have right now. There's Thanksgiving, and then kicks off the holiday season. Let's get ready for Christmas, Black Friday. Well, we see where Thanksgiving lies every year, and you back 4 Sundays off of Christmas, you see where that's going to fall every year. Maybe one kind of set the energy for the other. Now, imagine this also being like a old-time New York Square. New Year's Eve when the ball drops, that countdown energy. And we're going to count down to it. Only instead of taking things away, we lit things up. There would be 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. You knew it was getting close. Then 5, here's Christmas. Beginning of the new year. When we look into our lives, when we look into this season, we can look at all the symbols of Christmas and say, this is my favorite time of the year because there's all these pretty things. I love Christmas trees. I love bows and bells and stockings and snowmen and all these wonderful memories. Not just past, but present memories. And future memories that I look forward to making this time of year, next year, and the year after that. But these things are just symbols. The thing that we really, most of us, really love about this time of year, this holiday time, is it seems to bring out the best in everybody. It's that time of year that inside you feel inspired to be the best you that you can be. This time of year, we actively put other people first. What might you like? What might you like? Let me see if I can find the symbol of this thing, be it a gift or a card or a letter or just spending some time. What gift can I give you? As opposed to the rest of the year, sometimes we get kind of tunnel visioned on me. I have to do, I need to do, I. During this time of year, during Advent, during the month of December, the end of November, beginning of December, is where we shift our focus away from ourselves and onto other folks. It's that time of year that we see the person in front of the store ringing the bell. We're much more likely to go over and put something in it. When we see that person who needs food, or needs a bed, or needs a sleeping bag, we're much more inclined to go get it. Because the entire energy of this season, the season of Advent, is about making us the best versions of ourselves that we can be. They say birds of a feather flock together. And oftentimes that's true. Anybody with kids, you know, you're going to know who your kid is by who your kid's hanging out with. Every time. Well, as we're all somebody's kid, guess what? Our folks do it too. Right? Now, if we want to be hanging with Christ, then the more like Christ we can be, birds of a feather flocking together, the more we're going to have in common, the more comfortable we're going to be, the more excited we're going to be. So this time of year is about bringing out that Christ-like energy in each one of us. Christ is God's kid, but so is Mary, so is Julie, so is Darcy. We all are God's kids. Jesus was a shining example of what the ultimate of God's kids is, can be. This time of year, we're reminded that we each have that potential because we're each God's kids. But it's this time that we embrace our inner divinity. We embrace things that make us smile. Christmas music. It's tough to be sad listening to Christmas music. Last night when Mary and I were preparing for today's connections on preparing, and we brought out all the symbols, the trees and the bells and the bows and these things, it wouldn't have been the same without Christmas music blaring throughout the house. And as soon as that music started and those boxes started to open, it's like we could feel our hearts opening. We could feel welcoming in that spirit. Now, from a New Thought perspective, those are really high vibration things. Music, especially happy music, happy upbeat music, is an instant vibration raiser. Instant. Which is a whole lot different than a typical Saturday night of watching House. Now, not that House is a bad show, I like House, but completely different vibrational frequencies that I was sitting in, that we were engaging in together. How many times in our lives do we get so busy doing stuff that we don't really take the time to connect with those who are most important to us? With Thanksgiving, Advent, the Christmas season, all these things. We got blessed. We got to have dinner with our folks twice this week. Once on Thanksgiving and then yesterday for Thanksgiving redo. And for getting Christmas things out of attics and these things. But we made time for that twice in a week, which isn't much. But it's a whole lot more than it has been. What are you doing in your world that you don't normally do? That makes you feel that little bit better? That shifts the priorities of time and focus and energy? What are you bringing into your vibrational space? Music, joy, happiness, generosity, helping someone, allowing someone to help you, whatever it is. Like Mary talked when she read the quote that we started the service with, it's about releasing any sorrow, releasing anything that's holding you back, that's negative, and embracing all of these things that are high vibration things. Christ, God, spirituality, our own energy, music, songs, lights, putting other people before ourselves, or at least equal to ourselves. This is what Advent is all about. Back in the olden times, it wasn't as readily available. You couldn't just run to the mall and pick up a tree or Walmart, whatever, and pick up all of your decorations and get all your shopping done in one day. Back then, stuff took time. If you wanted a tree, you had to go get it. Like, go find it, chop it down, and drag it home. Back then, there wasn't little lights. They would actually light a tree with candles. And so they had to make the little candles and make the little candle holders so the tree didn't light on fire. They had to make all of these things and get into the spirit. And back then it wasn't like now where everybody lives in towns. A lot of folks lived in different spots. And if you didn't have Thanksgiving as an anchoring point, and a television and a radio blaring at you, hey, it's Thanksgiving, oh gosh, Christmas season's going to start. You have this little wreath with 4 candles. You can be out of town, up in the countryside, grabbing food, hunting, fishing, whatever it was you were doing. Come back into town and see how many candles were lit on that wreath and know exactly how close it was. Not only to Christmas, but to the winter solstice, the halfway point of winter, which is a really important thing when your only heat is your firewood. When you look at your food storage and say, this is what I have until it gets warm enough that I can get something new. This whole season of the winter solstice, of Christmas, of all these things, all tied in together, but they all bring out the best in us. Now, one of the things that I love is that when we ask God, what can I do to be a better me? Most of the time, as human beings, we think, That means I need to fix me about something that's broken or not right. Right? Most of the time that's what we get to. How can I get me to be a better me? Then I got to fix something in me. Right? So the opposite. So the opposite, in my opinion. When I said, God, what can I do to make me a better me? God said, I want you to start connections. It didn't have to do with me. It had to do with things outside of me that are also inside of me. The growth that I've had in my marriage, my family, with individual people, watching them grow, watching them help me grow. It wasn't about fixing me. It was about me being of service and following God's guidance to what I could do to help. And at the same time, I've watched that duplicate itself. Every week I watch Mary get ready for the meditation and put so much of herself into it and thinks and prays and talks to God and says, what's this need to be the most impactful for everyone else. Now as she's doing it for everyone else, she's doing it for herself tenfold, because she may go through 10 meditations before she settles on the one that she's going to share with us. She's getting back tenfold what she's giving us, and what she's giving us is incredible. I watched Mark, Darcy, Debbie, Judy, Luke, Sue, Mike, Mom, Pop. I watched everybody in this room grow because their hearts opened. And as their hearts opened, they said, I can do this, whatever this is. Maybe this is showing up a half hour before choir practice and church and skip practice. So a half hour early before that, just to set up all this stuff. That's Mark. Because I can do this to help every person who helps set a chair or take down a chair after a service. Darcy and Rose, and the amount of time and energy and effort that they put into changing the music. Like, now bring us a meditation. Oh, that's cute. But also practicing it and putting all this together, the whole music, and you watch it flow out of them. You watch as folks are singing. Every week, somebody, and most often the folks, and sometimes the folks and other folks, bring goodies back there for us to snack on after church. It's another way that they can give, and as they give, they receive. We all do. But when God says Advent is about making you the best you that you can be, it's not fixing something that's broken. Because none of us are broken. We are all perfect in God's gifts. It's about making that good even better by opening yourself up. The same way that Christ did. Where he said, I put you first. What can I do to help? If you want to be me, be like me. Follow my example. Put other folks first. Do what you're guided to do. And do it with all that you have. Thank you.